Hi, folks. I'm Jason Lowith, Artistic Director of Only Theater Center in Maryland, and I'm proud to welcome you to the second installment of Just Arts, a celebration of arts and activism. Every Friday night in October, we've been releasing a collection of performances that respond with dynamism and passion to the need for social justice in our country today. Each installment is hosted by one of the four curators of Just Arts, who together have identified the four pillars of social justice that each episode explores. Today's contribution, Rights, is curated and hosted by the inspired and inspiring Elena Velasco, whose work as a performer, choreographer, director, and educator is suffused with intercultural, interdisciplinary passion and commitment. After you watch this episode, please visit our website and check out the installments from earlier this month. Participation, curated by Kevin McAllister, and Equity, curated by Nicole A. Watson. Before I hand it off to Elena, two important items of business. First, we could not both pay the artists you're about to see and provide this at no charge to you without a few remarkable folks whose commitment to Just Arts speaks volumes about their passion for social justice. Our gratitude goes first to the project's lead sponsors, Joan Dubinsky, Craig Packard, and Holly Hassett, whose faith in the idea propelled it forward earlier this summer. Without them, we surely couldn't have garnered the support of creative sponsors Charlene Dorian, Lois Taylor, and Stephen Simpson, and our corporate partners at Graves Auto. Last, hats off to artist sponsors and OTC champions Andrea and John Orsiolo, Nettie Horn, Pat Woodbury, and Bob Russell. Second, OTC wouldn't be here at all without events that happened decades and centuries ago. OTC humbly acknowledges that our theater exists today on unceded land that's the ancestral home of the Piscataway Conoy tribe. As we honor this history, we also seek to understand the complex systems of oppression that are integral to the development and history of the Olney area. This includes further work to uncover and address the history of our land ownership and conditions of sale that might have involved members of the historic free Black community based in neighboring Sandy Spring. Finally, while Olney was a rural area at the founding of the theater, its suburban development, like much of the rest of the country's, carries a legacy of racism that excluded people of color from homeownership for many years through discriminatory land lending policies by the Federal Housing Authority, the GI Bill, and exclusionary land covenants in local developments. As we venture to become a better anti-racist theater, we will work to rectify the disparities in who we serve so that everyone can feel at home in our spaces. Just Arts, a celebration of arts and activism, is one step we're taking toward that goal. So let's get to it. I'm proud to introduce Elena Velasco in the third installment of Just Arts, Rights.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to the third evening of Just Arts, a celebration of art and activism. Me llamo Elena Velasco, and I am your guest curator for this evening. I am currently zooming to you from the unceded lands of the Anacostan and Piscataway people. I want to take this moment to offer my gratitude and my care to the land, to the water, and to the air, and to support Indigenous-led learning. These communities are the original caretakers of this land, and I want to pay my respects to our elders, both past and present, and to the future generations. What you are about to see this evening is the result of a collaboration between Jill Kong, Kevin McAllister, Nicole A. Watson, and myself, as we have curated a program featuring and honoring BIPOC artists from the DMV area as we explore the four pillars of social justice: equity, participation, rights, and access. This evening, we focus on rights. To quote Theater for Social Justice practitioner, artist, and advocate Augusta Boal, theater, and the arts I will say, is a form of knowledge. It should and can be used as a means for transforming society. Theater can help us build our future and not just wait for it. As this evening's program is centered on rights, it is only appropriate to take a moment to consider what is accepted understandings of one's rights. We must consider concepts like justice and due process. We must consider ownership of property or some interest in property, real or personal, that is respected. We must consider protection from interference of the enjoyment of one's life and property. We must consider what are civil rights, human rights, that is, rights to protect people throughout the world and in our own area from harassment, from terror, from discrimination. We must consider as well the freedom of speech, the freedom of press, the freedom of religion, the freedom of assembly, and to petition. The performances tonight will examine how we consider our own actions so we can become greater advocates for the rights of all, particularly those who have lived on the margins and whose voices must be centered. I will end by quoting again Boal, as I note that empathy is the most powerful weapon. We invite everyone to find the intersection of your story with the stories that you will hear tonight, so that you may become the advocates for all. Thank you.
How did you feel when Barack Obama was elected?
I hope and pray that nobody kill him. Abraham Lincoln freed the slaves, and they kill him. And Barack Obama was the first black president, and I hope and pray that nobody take a shot at him.
How do you feel about Trump being president?
Well, my philosophy about that is they got what they asked for. In no kind of political situation. You watch him on TV for his performance, know that something was not right, and they elected him. Well, you get what you asked for. How can you elect somebody that has no political experience whatsoever and put them in the highest office in the country? He was never mayor of a city. He was not even, nothing political was he ever involved in. And they made him president of the United States, so you get what you asked for.
How do you feel regarding the Trump administration's immigration policies?
Well, that goes under the umbrella of segregation. That's what that is. That's segregation. You keep them out. That's less foreigners you have to deal with. Because his philosophy is, he admires dictators. But this country is built on immigration. Because the actual Americans in this country are the Indians. The Sioux and the different ones from the different nations. And when the people and the pilgrims came over from England, they took over the country. And they took them and pushed them in a corner and took over. So that's the first of the immigrants. And ever since then, they've been coming. This country is built on immigration. This is not a country that white people originated in. This is a country built on immigration. I don't understand why all of a sudden immigration is an issue in a country that from the very beginning was formed by immigrants.
Greetings, everyone. Jumbo, and welcome to Only Theater's Theater in the Woods. We are so honored and so happy to be here presenting here at the Only Theater. My name is Sylvia Suma. I'm the artistic director of Kayaba Dance Theater. Kayaba Dance Theater is a traditional West African dance company that specializes in dance from Guinea, Mali, and Senegal. As you should see, I brought a map of Africa because you ask people, say, give me a name of country in Africa, and they say, Africa. Africa is not a country, it's a continent. 54 countries, 5 regions, north, south, east, west, and central. Many different ethnic groups, many styles of clothing, many different types of food. It's a fabulous place, so I hope you get a chance. Right now we know you can't travel, but you can also go to the library and get a book, right? And you can learn about all these different places that you can go around the world. Today's show deals with community and also about human rights. Everybody have a right to clean water. Everybody has the right to go to school. Everybody has the right to love who they want to love, right? So human rights and rights for people, all people, should all be the same. As you know, if you were to cut yourself, nobody's blood come out blue, green, purple, right? It all comes out red. We are one people, under one nation, under one spirit. I really hope you enjoy this show. We're doing 2 traditional dances. The first dance is Kasab. It's a harvest dance from Guinea, West Africa. Ethnic group is Balinke. The second dance we're going to do for you is called Sunu Dansa. We're going to do Lamba first, which is a song of the griot, and then we're going to probably play a little bit of Sunu, and we're going to dance Dansa. This dance comes from Mali. We also are going to do audience participation, so we want you at home to get up off the couch, off the floor, and we want you to dance with us, because we love when you dance with us. And we can feel it through the camera, because I can see everyone, even though I'm not there physically with you. So I really hope you enjoy the show, and thank you so much. God bless. participation. Did you know we can play all types of music on these drums? So we're going to give you just a little snippet, just a little taste of what we can do. Are you with me? All right, I can tell you're with me. All right, let's see what we did. Let's go to where are we going to go? Yeah. All right, let's go to the Caribbean. Are y'all ready? Get the hands in the air, wave them like you just don't care, and wave. Come on. And wave. Ole, 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 ole. Ole, 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 ole. Feeling hot, hot, hot. How you feeling? Yes. Feeling hot, hot, hot. One more time. Here we go. Ole, 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 ole. Ole, 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 ole. Feeling hot, hot, hot. Oh, y'all are so hot back there. I love it. Feeling hot, hot, hot. All right. All right. See, this is how we stay employed because we can play everything. We're so talented. All right, all right, what's next, Dwayne? All right, let's go to Baltimore. Get the fists up in the air. And pump it like you just don't care. Come on. Come on. Go. Let's go. Go, 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 go. Everybody. Go, 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 go. Everybody. Go, 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 And if I didn't say that was called house music, y'all don't know nothing about Baltimore. Well, we could also play rock. Right? Do this with me. 1, 2, 3. Follow my rhythm. Good. I think you got it. All right. Don't change it up and down, girl. Keep it rock, honey. All right, keep it rock. All right, here we go. We will rock you. Yes? Rock you. We will rock you. Yes? Let me hear. We will rock you. Yes. This time. We will rock you. Now we wait out here in Only, which is a different world, okay? We close to DC, by the way of Africa. They have this music that's called go-go. So when you get a chance after this experience that we're having, right? Make sure you go down to DC and you check out this music that's called go-go. All right? Here we go. Hey. All right, you gonna step this outside? Yeah. All right. One more seems like this is my jam. All right. It don't mean a thing if you ain't got the go-go swing. Do-wop, 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 do-wop. It don't mean a thing if you ain't got the DC swing. Let me hear you. Do-wop, 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 do-wop. All right, we got 1, pose. 1, 2, pose. 1, 2, pose. 1, 2. Everybody clap your hands. Now, hey Tiffany, hey, I want to ask you 3 questions. Are you ready? I know you are. All right, with your foxy side. Can I say that? What's your name? Tiffany. And where are you from? DC. What do you do? I dance. All right, come on. Beat your feet, girl. Beat your feet. Yeah. What's it, Fox? And freeze. Oh, you see how she put that decent pose in there? All right, so now we got to get old school in there. I'm old school right here, Supreme. All right? My other Supreme. Come on over here. All right. Oh, smooth operator. Are you ready? I'm ready for you. Here we go. I say, what's your name? Mama Marcia. And where are you from? Baltimore. What do you do? I dance. All right. 1, 2, work it out. trying to be funny. It's okay. All right, are you ready? Here we go. I say, what's your name?
Samantha,
And where are you from?
DC,
What do you do?
I dance.
1, 2, show 'em how to do it. Sing it. Now I hope y'all remembering all these things. So when you come to DC, right, you gotta do all these poses, right? But I hope you're dancing at home. I hope you're dancing at home. I hope you're singing at home, having good food, and keeping the good vibe going. We're gonna put on our boobas right in front of you. We're gonna put on our boobas just on top. Thank you, darling. Now this is a traditional dress that they wear in Mali and Senegal. You don't see this booba throughout all of Africa, but specifically you see it in Senegal and Mali. Thank you, Tiffany. Now underneath, I'm not gonna put this on. Underneath you wear a lapa, right? So you wear a lapa, but we're not gonna put the lapa on today, but I will wear my lapa underneath.
Yes.
And I will also,
Fancy.
yes, I would wear and tie my lapa around. All right, and then also I would have another piece. I would tie my head, and that's called a gele. Okay, so we're gonna do a bit of Sunu dancer for you, the dance of the griot. Starting off with a little bit of lamba. All right, and this dance could be done for baby naming ceremonies, weddings, happy occasions. Right. Also, it can be done for funerals as well. But also, funerals in Africa, they're not sad. All right, there's a celebration of life. We're ready.
La sombra de mi alma huye por un ocaso de alfabetos, niebla de libros y palabras. My mom was my father and my mother. We had to live in so many different places. We moved from one place to another place. La sombra de mi alma. He llegado a la línea donde cesa la nostalgia y la gota de llanto se transforma al alabastro de espíritu. My mother had to work every night and I was always alone at home. I would always cry. One night I was 5 or 6. A drunk man living with us began to hit me, telling me to shut up. That was a life-changing moment. I couldn't have a good relationship with people anymore. El copo del dolor se acaba, pero queda la razón y la sustancia de mi viejo mediodía de labios, de mi viejo mediodía de miradas. It was 2013. My mom, little brother, and I were at home. I heard something, a loud boom, and my brother's screams. I saw them, La Mara, with gasoline, putting it on my mother's door. They poured it over our house and lit a fire. We made it out, but there was nothing we could do. Nowhere to turn for help since we knew the police would not do anything. It was my half-brother who started the fire. His gang. Un turbio laberinto de estrellas ahumadas enreda mi ilusión, casi marchita, la sombra de mi alma. A week later, I left that place. My mother paid someone to get me here. I passed through Mexico. I cannot say. I walked. I got lost, but I walked. I came to a river, no food, no water. I don't know how. I crossed. From 8 p.m. to 5 a.m. I walked. When it was dawn, I had to hide. La sombra de mi alma. Y una alucinación me ordeña las miradas. Veo la palabra amor desmoronada. I found a small empty place one day where I slept from 6 a.m. to 2 p.m. Each day I found a place to sleep when it was light. Once I woke and saw a couple. I stopped to talk to them. I said, I want to cross that street. Once I cross it, I want to find this house. I was hallucinating. The couple, they were gone. No one there. The house I had seen was nothing but air. I was out now, and so I walked. I had to keep looking around, behind. I would hear cars and hide. I walked. A car stopped behind me. Someone saw me. Someone who looked exactly like Santa Claus. He said, "Busca alguien?" I asked for help. I lied. I told him, I lost my little brother when the police came. Can I please use your phone and call my brother to find him? He took me to his house and allowed me in, and he said that he would hide me. He asked his wife to get me food. They helped me. They told me many stories. They had helped many immigrants before. They told me how some racist people saw a little immigrant child climbing over a fence. They shot him. Ruiseñor mío. ¿Aún cantas? tierra, aquí en nuestras puertas, en el atardecer, estará de pie una mujer. Una mujer poderosa con una antorcha, la luz de los prisioneros, y su nombre es la madre de los exiliados, la madre de los exiliados.
Decolonizing Dreams, named NAMD Advocates, Jenway Johnson, virtual exhibition and IG live stream, honoring the names of the Black disabled lives lost in state violence, Sunday, July 26th.
So my inspiration for this piece was actually just reflective of just my own disability, and then also the disability of my son. He is a Black autistic, soon to be 8-year-old kid who is, living in a world that is really expecting for him to constantly comply and to assimilate to the cultural norms, to a very ableist society, a society that doesn't really value Black disabled people. So I was really inspired by just the life of Black disabled people that are still with us, honoring them, and then also honoring Black disabled bodies who have been lost to state violence. This project was actually infused and requested by the National Alliance of Multicultural Advocates. It's a group of disabled, Black and brown and indigenous folks who wanted to somehow incorporate and honor names of Black disabled people who have been lost to state violence. So it was really important that a Black disabled person could help usher in an interactive experience where people could actually say these names, see the stories, view the names, remember and honor and give tribute to these lives lost. Also, the original recording was streamed live via an Instagram Live, just virtual exhibition, exchange, due to the fact that the names themselves couldn't be physically produced in a space, because of COVID limitations and restrictions. And so it was really important that, that just being an artist, that you just really allow for conversations and have influence.
Black, disabled, lives matter. Black, disabled, lives matter.
Disabled folks aren't always able to attend protests and to be able to like interact safely in various spaces, where some folks can be disrespectful. So I really wanted to allow for people who either couldn't physically go to protests or who just didn't want to go to protests to still be able to protest and to honor, Black disabled bodies in a really interactive way.
Say their names. Say their names. Corin Gaines. Jason Harrison. Corin Gaines. Jason Harrison. Hallis Kinsey. Robert Storey. Hallis Kinsey. Robert Storey. Lashano Gilbert. Mario Woods. Lashano Gilbert. Mario Woods. Black, disabled, lives matter. Black, disabled, lives matter. Say their names. Say their names. Laquan McDonald, Michelle Cusseau. Laquan McDonald, Michelle Cusseau. Eric Garner, Sandra Bland. Eric Garner, Sandra Bland. Tamir Rice, Freddie Gray. Tamir Rice, Freddie Gray. Stephon Watts, Ezell Ford. Stephon Watts, Ezell Ford. Black, disabled, lives matter. Say their names. Say their names. Jeremy McDowell, Quintonio Legria. Tanisha Anderson, Kevin Matthews. Tanisha Anderson, Kevin Matthews. Lori Nelson, Luonchu Killing. Black, disabled, lives matter. Say their names. Say their names. David Felix Dennis Grigsby. David Felix Dennis Grigsby. Donald Ivy Natasha McKenna. Donald Ivy Natasha McKenna. Matthew Ajibade Kajime Powell. Matthew Ajibade Kajime Powell. Willie D. James. Michael Noel. Black, disabled, lives matter. Milton Hall, Shemikal Mitchell. Milton Hall, Shemikal Mitchell. Bruce Kelly, Errol Shaw. Bruce Kelly, Errol Shaw. Patrice Richardson, Nina Pop. Patrice Richardson, Nina Pop. Darnell Ricker, Tony McDade. Darnell Ricker, Tony McDade. Black, disabled, lives matter. Say their names. Say their names. Eric Smith, Elijah McClain. Eric Smith, Elijah McClain. Reginald Thomas, Adam Trammell. Reginald Thomas, Adam Trammell. Keith Lamont Scott. Keith Lamont Scott. Say their names. Say their names. Black, disabled, lives matter.
The desired impact is to continue amplifying just Black disability culture and Black disability movements, allowing for Black disabled people to feel accepted in various spaces. So whether that's just within their homes, within the workspace, when they're out and about, just like existing, like living their lives, they need to be able to see artwork that just, amplifies them, that amplifies their joy, but then also honors loss, honors their existence. And we really can't talk about Black lives mattering if we're not talking about all Black lives, especially, lives that are often viewed as disposable and not valuable. Like, Black people with disabilities are often, put in this box, and some folks are not always comfortable interacting with people that are different, people that just, move differently and experience life in a different way. Sometimes they're almost viewed as a threat. But honestly, Black disabled people just want to live, and they want to exist as their true authentic selves. And so, just the impact is mostly so that Black disabled people can just feel seen, and that they feel that the art world just honors them and really represents like their voices, their cause, their own stories.
The Dilly Family Detention Center is the biggest of its kind. It's a bunch of trailers, like the temporary housing kind, arranged in clusters, surrounded by a chain-linked fence. There's a cafeteria and a gym with arts and crafts supplies. It's all moms and kids. Alejandro wasn't allowed to roam around as much. He mostly had to stay inside the trailer with his mom. He'd pretend that all the time that today was the day they were getting out, like he was trying to will it into existence. Have faith, he'd say. It will happen. And then one morning, a guard came and woke them up. That day, they knocked on the door, and the officer says, "Ma'am, they need you in court at 9:45. "Okay," she told the officer. She gets Alejandro and steps outside her trailer. She immediately sees that all the other moms are also outside with their kids. Everyone had been summoned. They go to this huge trailer that functions as a courthouse. They're sent to different courtrooms. There's like 10 of them per room. No judge, no lawyers, just a couple of ICE officers, immigration and customs enforcement. Yvette sat down and put Alejandro in her lap. Some of the other moms had their kids with them too. An ICE officer began speaking to them. "We need a signature from you guys," the officer told them in Spanish, "so that the kids can go with their sponsor, a relative or responsible adult who could take care of them. In other words, her son could be released, but she would stay here, alone in detention." He didn't say separate, but we're not dumb. And from the moment you're saying that, you're talking about the kids staying in without their mom. Obviously, it's a separation. The document the ICE officer handed Yvette to sign, it was in English. She asked for one in Spanish. They said no. She asked if they could take a copy and show her lawyer first. They said no. She started to quietly freak out. She gets up and goes to the bathroom. Yvette takes Alejandro's hand, but a guard stops him. It's the boy. He has to use the bathroom. It works. She calls for a lawyer. She didn't sign. Some families have been in detention for months. Children can only be held for 20 days. There's this federal judge who has been on ICE about this for a while. The court deadline was coming up, so the lawyers think that ICE was trying to cover themselves. Ask parents if they're willing to separate from their kids. And when they say no, well, they could tell the judge. It's the family's fault. They won't release the kids. So we have to keep everybody in detention. But once a question like, "Do you want your kids to be separated from you?" is said, you can't really hear it. It becomes part of your world, and a part of your child's. For days after this happened, Alejandro and his friends couldn't stop talking about it. We kept asking each other's moms if they had signed. Alejandro asked Yet, too. She kept saying, "No, you know I didn't. You were there." He was just scared. He didn't go to the playroom to play because he was scared that ICE was going to grab him and take him. Sometimes his mom told him, "Son, go grab some milk." And he said, "No, Mom, the office was there and they could take me." He would sometimes even scream in his sleep. "What's wrong?" he'd say. "Mom, I'm scared. Don't sleep. Because that's where they're gonna take me."
The read technique.
The 9 steps. Step one. The positive confrontation.
Step two, theme development.
Step three, handling denials.
Step four, overcoming objection.
Step five, procurement and retention of suspect's attention.
Step six, handling the suspect's passive mood.
Step seven, presenting an alternative question.
Step seven, presenting an alternative question.
Step seven, presenting an alternative question.
Step eight,
Having the suspect relate various details of the offense.
Step nine,
converting an oral confession
to a written confession.
The read technique. The user's goal is to make the suspect gradually more comfortable with telling the truth. This is accomplished by the investigators first imagining and then offering the suspect various psychological constructs as justification for their behavior.
Who harmed you? Was the government involved? How did they harm you? Did you report your persecution to the police in your home country? Did you return to your home country after suffering persecution there? If so, why? Why did they harm you? Have you ever applied for asylum in the U.S. before? Do you have legal immigration status in any third country? Do you fear returning to your home country? What is the basis of your fear? Have you ever committed a crime, either in the U.S. or elsewhere? What are the names of your children? Do you have any evidence to show me today? Is there any reason anyone would invent or lie about the incident? Where is home for you? What did you bring with you? Where were you when the alleged incident occurred? Why did you leave?
No matter what your situation may be, you have rights. Above all, you should remain calm. Do not run away, fight, argue, or otherwise attempt to resist police officers. Instead, stop where you are and keep your hands visible at all times. First, you should ask if you are free to leave. If the officer says you are free to leave, you should walk away without saying anything more. If the officer says you are under arrest and not free to leave, then you have a right to know why you are being arrested. You have the right to remain silent and refuse to answer questions from the officers. The fact that you are remaining silent cannot be used against you later on.
No matter what your situation may be, you have rights.
Who harmed you or put you in fear of harm? Was the government involved? Did you report it to the police? Why not?
Above all, you should remain calm.
Do you have any witnesses who can corroborate your whereabouts at the time of the incident?
Do not run, fight, argue, or otherwise attempt to resist police officers.
What were the circumstances leading up to the incident?
Instead, stop where you are and keep your hands visible at all times.
How often do you see your children?
First, you should ask if you are free to leave. If the officer says that you are free to leave, you should walk away without saying anything more.
Where are your children?
If the officer says that you are under arrest and not free to leave, then you have the right to know why you are being arrested.
How would your removal hurt your spouse, children, and other family?
You have the right to remain silent and refuse to answer questions from the officers.
Is there any evidence to support your account of what happened?
You have the right to remain silent and refuse to answer questions from the officers.
Is there any evidence to support your account of what happened? Is there any evidence to support your account of what happened? Is there any evidence to support your account of what happened? Is there any evidence to support your account of what happened?
Usted tiene derecho a permanecer en silencio. El hecho que tenga El hecho que permanezca en silencio no podrá usarse en su contra más adelante.
Don't sign, because wherever you go, I go.
I want to thank you so much for joining us. This is Erin McKinney from Just Neighbors. Just Neighbors is an immigration advocacy organization, and I know, Erin, you could definitely describe this far better than I can, your mission and the people that you serve.
Yes, we are an immigration legal services provider, and our mission is actually to provide high quality immigration legal services to low income immigrants in Washington, D.C., Maryland, and Virginia. In addition to that, we also are working to build community among clients, staff, volunteers, and the greater community by doing education, advocacy, and volunteer activities that really try to connect everyone.
What do you identify as being the greatest opportunity that community members have to become accomplices for those in the migrant community?
I think it's really to stand up and stand with immigrants against policies, against the practices that have been imposed to essentially stop both illegal and legal immigration, and really become educated about what the law is. There's an awful lot of rhetoric that misleads what is really happening. And I think folks can really be accomplices by undermining that mythology that's out there, and standing with immigrants and making sure they're equipped when basically deceitful practices are used against them. So making sure they know what their rights are, so that if ICE shows up at their door, that they understand there has to be a warrant signed by a judge. So taking advantage of those opportunities personally to learn what the laws are, help educate the immigrant community, and stand by them. And really I think one of the biggest issues is just really understand that we are dependent as a nation on immigrants. We are a nation of immigrants. Our death rate exceeds our birth rate. Without immigration, our population is declining. And so the long-term economic status of the country is really dependent on continued growth through immigration. Otherwise, we're going to end up like countries like Japan that have virtually no immigration, very low birth rates, and they're eventually going to run out of people. And in a country like ours, where things like Social Security are very dependent upon the younger generations generating income and contributing to those things, there's not going to be people to do that. So I think people just really need to recognize and honor the value of immigrants that has been our history and hasn't changed because I'm here and got mine. Nobody else needs to come.
Excellent point. You have a program that I was very lucky to be able to witness, and that is Immigration 101. Can you talk a little bit about that?
Yes, it was actually a training program that we used in-house for volunteers, just so that our volunteers could have a pretty detailed overview of immigration law. It is a very complex field. Most attorneys will tell you maybe next to tax law, immigration is the most complicated form of law there is to practice. So it's about an hour-long presentation that basically takes you through the difference between being a U.S. citizen, a permanent resident, a temporary resident, or undocumented, and how you can or cannot move between those categories. And for us, it's primarily focused on the humanitarian-based immigration. It doesn't really address employment immigration or even family-based so much, but it's really, we spend a lot more time focusing on humanitarian-based immigration. And it's really just a very sound basis for understanding again, so much of the rhetoric that's out there and how much misinformation, because people just don't understand that there's just not a line to get in to come to the United States. That, the DACA, I've had people ask me, why don't these DACA kids just go and become citizens? It's like, because they can't. There is not a legal pathway between DACA and citizenship. So it really helps to dispel some of that misinformation, and really, I think it just arms folks with a better understanding. So when issues are brought up, that they can go, wait a second, that's not actually the case. Or yeah, that is the case. Or yes, there is a 25-year wait to bring my father from Mexico or something like that.
If there is one particular event that happened with Just Neighbors, whether it was a case or it was a community event, is there anything that particularly has stood out to you in your time with the organization?
I mean, every client story just tugs at your heart. I think it's really interesting to see the impact getting documented has on people's lives, how just life-changing it is for someone. Whether they entered legally or not, they may have come with or without documentation, and just getting the security of officially having documentation is not only life-altering, because then it opens so many doors to you economically, but just that sense of security that you're not always in total state of fear, wondering when the next shoe is going to drop. One story that stood out to me was one of the first asylum cases we did was a young man from Egypt who was accused of being gay. I'm not sure he was or not, but he was being persecuted for being gay. And he came to the United States to escape that persecution, and really had to present his case that if he were sent back, he was very likely to be killed, because that is really not acceptable at all in Egypt and in many countries. And we see that those kinds of things, people with disabilities are often heavily discriminated against, or are not seen as having any value. And so those are often layers of complication in their immigration that plays a really significant role. We just had a client that just got approved for asylum that was severely autistic, and he basically would have been sent back to die if he had been returned to his country. And so being able to make those changes, getting them a permanent status here, is not only life-altering, it's life-saving in many cases. And I think that's why, we come here every day to do this work.
So we know that nonprofits are largely responsible for this societal impact and bringing change, and that the arts are also responsible for bringing cultural impact. And when we think about arts activism and the activism that is present with nonprofit organizations, I'm wondering, what is it that we can walk away from this evening with? What is a call to action? What is something that each of us as an individual can do to create that individual impact?
I think first and foremost, it's up to every one of us to stop the xenophobic and racism comments, actions when we see it. It's not okay to turn a blind eye. It's not okay to allow those things to happen, or let people think it's okay to happen. You've seen videos of Muslim women getting abused on public transportation, and there are subtle ways and safe ways you can, as an individual, kind of go and intervene and be an ally. And I think until people who look like me are willing to stand up and stand next to people of color, immigrants, and don't allow that to be acceptable behavior on anyone's part, I think the change isn't going to happen. So I think for every one of us, it's critical that we stop that in its path when it's happening, not walk away. And it's scary. It feels a little threatening to intervene, but at the same time, you know, a lack of response is almost as bad as what's actually being done, because if you're not stopping it, you're almost fundamentally supporting it. So I think really just finding a way to be comfortable to say, you know, if somebody makes a remark, to say that's not acceptable. If somebody sees a behavior, to intervene and say that's not okay. You know, or to gently just walk over and say, you know, say, hey, I just wanted to talk to you, and help pull a person away. It's tough, it's hard, it's confrontational, but if we don't start to change those behaviors and stop it when it's happening, it's just going to continue. So holding people accountable to that.
Absolutely. Publicity is just as complicating to challenges that we have.
Yeah.
Thank you. And thank you so much for the work that you're doing at Just Neighbors. It's really inspiring, and that absolutely is changing lives. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you all for joining us this evening to celebrate the work of BIPOC artists across the varied disciplines that speak to our conscience, our heart, and our soul. Just Arts has been a co-curated collaboration between Nicole A. Watson, Kevin McAllister, Cho Kong, and myself. I want to thank the staff of Olney Theater, who brought us into this decentered model of arts programming, a vision they plan to engage as they move forward. Together, we explored the 4 pillars of social justice: equity, participation, rights, and access, the last of which we will see translated into an evening of curated performances hosted by Cho Kong. And with that acknowledgement, I'd like to pass tonight's mic over to my dear colleague, Chill. Take it away, Chill.
Thank you, Elena. I hope you all enjoyed tonight's journey through rights like I did. Hello, my name is Chill Kong, and I am the Artistic Director at Adventure Theater, and I am a co-curator of the Just Arts Social Justice Festival. Please join me next week as we continue our final journey through the 4 pillars of social justice: access. Next week, October 30th, we'll take a look at the different iterations of what the word access means to our artists, and in particular, what access means to each artist as we approach the vote for the presidential elections. I asked each of our artists, what does access mean to you, and why is voting an important way to access your life here in the United States? So join me on Friday, October 30th at 7 p.m. as we celebrate yours, our access to vote. See you soon.